Hey you guys, it's Into the Stars, and the lines just keep coming. Now, many of you have seen the video I did on David Flynn's work and this particular map that shows that all of the major monolithic and most ancient sites on Earth fall on the lines of two pentagrams. We've begun to track some of these lines on Google Earth, and where we were getting tripped up is we were trying to look at the actual equator of the Earth. Well, this star pattern falls on its own equator, and we're going to track that now. I want you to look at this 113 degrees here. This is where Easter Island is. Now, obviously, because of the skew of the map, it looks a lot closer to the United States than it really is, but it's actually at the end of this point. I want you to follow the edge of the globe around as it cuts off the top of South America. You can barely see a piece there, and swings around and cuts through Africa, the northern portion of Africa, and through the southern portions of Southeast Asia and China. Okay, now I want you to watch that curve, and now we're going to identify that curve here. So again, here's Easter Island, cuts through this northern portion of South America. Then it cuts through the northern portion of Africa, as you can see here, and it ends up in Cairo, Egypt, just as we see on our map. Cairo, Egypt. See this? And it swings around all the way through. Now here's Sacsayhuaman, Machu Picchu, Ollantaytambo. That's where we're going to focus on today. Now this is amazing. I would have never guessed to make these associations with the NAZCA planes and things of that nature, but I found some very interesting stuff. So we're back in South America. Again, this is Easter Island, just so you can get your bearings. We're going to zoom in to this very unique site in Peru. Now I've labeled these star matrix, and of course Sacsayhuaman sounds like it's pronounced sexy woman, which is why I have that there. And we see that the line goes exactly through where it's supposed to, according to David Flynn's map. Now here's what's interesting. These are the NAZCA planes. We're going to zoom in on this, and this is quite frankly amazing. I found an alignment here that is uncanny. Now these are the NAZCA planes, okay? And you can see all the various lines. I'm going to turn this line off here so that you can see it more clearly. Now you can see there are lots of lines here, but there are some that are more major than others that can be seen from further away. So you see all the lines of the NAZCA planes. Now the NAZCA planes, for those of you that don't know, is a large area where there are lines that go for miles in a straight line, which was seemingly impossible for when these lines were supposedly made. They've come up with all kinds of theories as to why this is happening, but none of the theories are satisfactory, and that's why we have to relearn what we were taught, because like a parent with a child, we have been told what they want us to know, not the truth. Now, just to give you an example, this line is 3 miles long. Let's zoom out. Here is another line, almost perfectly straight. This line is 10 miles long. And again, here are some examples of some of these animals in the NAZCA plains that are as much as 650 feet across, perfectly proportioned from the air, but when you're on the ground they look like just lines. So how did these people create these images 1500 years ago? So we're told. I believe that these images are actually much older, but of course we have really no way to prove that. But this alone proves that there was some kind of technology responsible for this ability to see these things from the air in a perfect proportion. This is a good image that shows all of the animals. Now, of these two major lines that we're seeing, I've focused on this one here. And when you actually extrapolate this line out, this line here, you get a very interesting alignment. Let's zoom out and see where that line goes. I've extrapolated that out northwest, and the line ends exactly at the Temple of the Feathered Serpent in Mexico. Now, for those of you who are skeptical of these alignments, this is not the only one. We have found hundreds of alignments. A channel called Jeff Lewis does a really great job of illustrating these alignments. I also have a Lines of Death series that looks at a lot of these alignments. This is the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. All roads lead to sun worship, and many other lines lead to this point on Earth. They are all connected. And there's the path that goes from the Temple of the Feathered Serpent to the NAZCA Plains. Now, many of you are seeing these lines here in the ocean, and we did some research on that with the help of many of you, and what we found was that these are higher resolution strips of the ocean floor by underwater vehicles, or at least that is the cover story we were being told. But I, to this point, have not been able to find any alignments for these lines, which could mean that the story is true, or it could not. For any of you that want to do additional research and try to line these lines up with anything, that would be welcome. But this patch here, we had called that out. That may be just a higher resolution portion of the seafloor done by these underwater mapping robots. And thank you for the subscriber that brought that to my attention. We are about truth here. We're not about creating unnecessary fear. We're not about making things up for views or clicks, contrary to the people who say they stand for truth are trying to accuse us of. Okay? So disregard those particular comments. We're here as a brain trust, all of us together, to find the truth. And as many of you know, the times that I have been inaccurate, I quickly post that information in my annotations of the videos to correct any inaccuracies, though they are rare, because I believe we are all led by the collective consciousness of truth. In this case, we did call out these underwater lines, and I want to clarify that that is the official story that we've been given, that these are sections of the seafloor that have been mapped. My first question was, how could one underwater vehicle go for thousands of miles in a straight line? Well, according to what I read on Wikipedia, they in fact do have that capability by their power source. So again, it could be the official story, or it could be true. I'm starting to lean toward the fact that it may be true, what they are saying, what they're telling us. But anyway, this alignment is fascinating. From the area here in Peru and Chile, the sacred area, all the way up to the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, which to me is pretty amazing. And I'll be looking for more definite alignments within this area that connects the star matrix based on David Flynn's work. There may be some specific sites along this line when we zoom in. Do you know there is a portal type area? If you look at Brian Forster's work, there is a area carved out of rock. It is a doorway with no door through it. And maybe that doorway aligns with Easter Island, and maybe that's how these people traveled back and forth to these sites. I'll be looking at that next, so stay tuned, you guys. Take care and be safe.